Welcome everyone to Flutter Gang. Today we'll be doing some player comparisons. We've each picked two players that we want to compare, and then we'll all discuss it as a panel.
My comparison is Darius Garland and Chris Paul. I think they have a very similar play style, and especially in Chris Paul's prime era, they were very similar, both flashy, kind of like acted like it was a park. They just kind of did whatever they wanted to. But as of now, I don't think it's very hard to choose who's over and who's better because Darius Garland is a better scorer for surely than Chris Paul last season, and I think yeah. Um, CP3 is also kind of, going down. He's getting older, which happens. Playmaking wise, I think Darius Garland has surpassed him now in playmaking abilities. I think Darius Garland is a phenomenal playmaker. I think he's underrated for play. Actually, not underrated. People give him credit for how good he is at playmaking. Um, but I think comparison wise and how they play are very, very similar. The one thing I think that separates them, especially is Darius Garland's defense. I think is better than CP3's, and his shooting ability from 3-point land is definitely better than CP3's,
Interesting.
and athletic wise. But
there is
add
one
on.
thing that I do have to disagree with is the playmaking. I don't think Darius Garland has surpassed CP3 on playmaking yet. CP3 has been an elite playmaker his whole career. Um,
He is the point guard with the greatest assist to turnover
That's
ratio.
all time, guys. Think about last season. Last season, he was
Last
not a
season,
very good playmaker.
he averaged more than one whole assist per game more. While to your point, which you're correct in, Darius
Okay,
Garland's
then
a
why
better.
is Trey Young not a better playmaker?
He's a more lethal scorer. He's a more lethal scorer. Darius Garland's a more lethal scorer than Chris Paul. People are, like you said, are not as afraid of Chris Paul scoring, and he finds a way to make plays on a consistent level. He can always make plays, doesn't matter where he goes in. Darius Garland doesn't have that same ability. So I mean, as good as Darius Garland is, obviously he's averaging assists, and I think Darius Garland is gonna. By the way, Darius Garland. By the way, just to be very clear, I'm picking Darius Garland. I just don't think what you said is
Yeah, I
correct.
don't think that's very hard. I think I would
I
assume
don't
all
think it was hard at
would be
all.
Darius.
I think I'm actually surprised. Both of them have a really. I was really surprised by Darius Garland's 3-point percentage. But even
true.
Chris Paul, I'm surprised by both of theirs. They're both. But Darius Garland, I'm really surprised actually. That's where he's got a really good percentage of what 41%.
it was 41% last season
He
compared to
takes a
37
couple
and a
deep
half.
shots. Take some deep shots too.
He's got that in his bag, so I was really impressed and surprised by that. He shoots a good free throw rate. And so I mean he's better. Chris Paul's older. I do still think Chris Paul he still has to call him the point guard, and I still think even this moment of his career. I mean the IQ is not really going anywhere. He doesn't have dementia, so he can make plays, and I think he can do that at a higher rate than Darius Garland can. Maybe not even capability wise, but just I think focus. For one, he's older. His game may be less assistant than previous season, but for the things he can still do without draining too much of his energy. And Darius Garland's so young, and he's trying to get points too. And I actually no, I see him. He's got an IQ. He's looking to make plays too. But I think sometimes he just in general more focused than on scoring than Chris Paul is, especially at this point in their careers. But I mean, I'm taking Darius Garland. So
Yeah, I agree. No, you can go ahead.
This is similar to the Jimmy Butler Devin Booker debate in a way, because not Devin Booker, Chris Paul's impact, not stats wise, is larger, or yeah, it's larger. It's very similar to sorry, accusing him. It's very similar to sorry. It's very similar to I totally lost my train of thought. Marvin, you go.
Jimmy
Darius
Butler.
Garland and CP3.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, Chris Paul's impact is similar to Jimmy Butler's in a way that he instilled a culture kind of. We saw that in OKC when he was traded from Houston to OKC, and then we saw it in Phoenix. Even when he wasn't, he was not in his prime anymore. I mean, he was still a lot better than he is now, but he instilled a culture in those on those teams. When Darius Garland, I mean, not that he didn't instill a culture, but the culture was kind of, I don't know, it wasn't there already, but it was, it was a collective effort. And, he's never been like I mean, his first year, he was not good. Second year, I mean, he's improved every year. So, but he's never had the loser's mentality kind of, not that Devin Booker had it, but there was a persona around him that he's an empty stats guy. Darius Garland never had that. He was always making a positive impact. His team, the Cavaliers, and the peak of Darius Garland's powers have always been competitive. In summary, I'm taking Darius Garland. But
I think we all are. I think that, like Lauren said, is a pretty simple one. I mean, part of that too is just Chris Paul is nearing literally the end of his career, and Darius Garland just got started a season or two ago, basically. As of name wise, and so I mean, he's going into his fifth season, but he really only started getting noticed about 2 seasons ago. So you're really comparing a leaving player to a new and upcoming young star.
yeah. Well, so if we're talking strictly impact, I think it's a lot closer. But gosh, they both have insane assist to turnover ratios.
Yeah. And Darius Garland, he's really in almost every statistical category he's gotten better throughout his career. It's actually pretty impressive. At least assists he's actually got less, but it's still over so far. He's on a pretty good line. I mean, last year he actually was like 0.1 down in a few of the things, but it's
but that comes with the territory of bringing Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Exactly.
His scoring went down quite a bit.
And for that, it didn't go down that much. His scoring hardly went down. Oddly enough, even like free throw percentages went down slightly, oddly enough. But overall, and even assists have gone down, which I guess lower usage rate, but almost maybe you think more passes to Donovan. I don't know, but it kind of also makes sense. Donovan, he likes to have the ball and do his own thing. So it's still pretty impressive that he's keeping the stats where they're at, especially for such a young guy.
I think what we saw from Garland before Mitchell came was like more explosive scoring. He had a couple. I think he had a 50-point game 2 seasons ago. I think he had one last year as well, but that was when Mitchell wasn't playing. So we know that he can be the number one guy, I think, scoring to a certain extent. There's just not a whole lot of holes in Darius Garland's game. I mean, defensively, he could be. I mean, he's good for a 6'1" guard.
Yeah, he's small, but he's not too small. He's a guard, so
he's athletic too. He can jump.
He can.
And I think too. There's one game that I'm looking at here from. It's actually tied his third highest scoring game. Last 2 seasons ago, 41 points with 13 assists. I mean, that's a very good sign, especially in such a young player. If you're scoring in bunches and assisting the ball a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all picked Darius Garland pretty easily. I think that leads to one of the other questions that we should talk about in a future podcast about plans of what Cleveland should do especially after this last season they had and the pieces they have and contracts and such. But I think at least for this comparison, Darius Garland, he's one of Valentine's favorite players. I think we all agree here that.
All right, I got one more to throw out there, just real quick. Darius Garland or Tyrese Halliburton?
Oh, there we go. Tyrese Halliburton. I got stats here.
They're biased, and I'm biased too. So it's both biased standpoints here. So.
Well, I just didn't think it would be like a unanimous decision.
It's not. Valentine's picking Darius, I think.
But it's Valentine.
Which also to mention, I think Darius Garland's true shooting percentage is I think a 55%, and again, like I said earlier, Halliburton's at 60%. So Garland's true shooting percentage, despite his amazing 3-point shooting percentage, I believe is lower than Jimmy and Devin Booker's true shooting percentage. Interestingly enough,
I think I would take Garland.
I just think Garland's really explosive, but I just think Halliburton has a great ability to play with any like you said, he's played with Darren Fox before. He's playing with Team USA before right now. I think he has a greater ability to kind of fit into any piece and be extremely successful. Whereas Darius Garland, I actually think he has a very similar ability in that way, but uh, I don't know. I just think I take Halliburton. He's a bigger guard. I think it's a close one. But I just think he looks so much more comfortable and in charge of any offense, even if he doesn't have to get like an insane amount of ball touches, and he can
Yeah.
score. He's fine scoring a 60% field goal 10-point game, and he's also fine putting up 40.
You're
Where I
saying
think
Halliburton's
Garland's a
better.
lot more comfortable trying to put up 25, 30, despite he looking for plays.
You're saying Halliburton's better, but who are you taking on a team to build?
Halliburton. Same
That's what I'm
thing because
saying.
he's better and he's a better team player, I think, right now too.
What I'm saying, I'm saying that I think he's a lot more. He just fits better into almost any piece. I think it's really. I honestly, to be quite honest with you, I might just be biased, but to be quite honest with you, I think on if you switch spots for those two guys, I think those teams are gonna look almost identical.
No. And
That's
here's
my
why.
personal opinion.
Halliburton would never be able to play with Donovan Mitchell. He would never transition to that.
What makes you think that?
He's less ball dominant.
You saw Garland. He was able to transition to that.
I think
Yeah, but
Halliburton would be able
Halliburton
to
did
as
not
well.
have the skill to do that.
Halliburton's more willing to score a 10-point game and just and be a floor general than Garland is. Like
Garland's the same
less
way.
dribble. I think
Not as
Garland's.
much as
Well,
Halliburton.
that's what I'm saying. I think they're very similar, but I think especially I just think it's completely false of you to say that Halliburton would be able to adapt to that because I think he has the same, if not slightly better, ability to adapt to something like that. That's what I was saying earlier. I think he can fit into different teams much better, or not. No, 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 not. I think he can fit into different teams. He has very good ability to do that. I think Garland does too. I'll pick Halliburton. I think he could fit a little bit better. I think he's a little less. I think he has less need to have the ball in his hands all the
Garland
time than
is a
Garland.
lot better with his teammates than Halliburton is. Garland can connect with any one of his teammates during a game. He either gets Mitchell on fire, Okoro, Evan Mobley. He's
The
especially good with
playoffs
his
don't speak in
bigs.
your favor, do they?
Huh?
Well, that and I'm not saying you're wrong, but what makes you say Halliburton doesn't do that? Like where
Yeah, well, I
what
was saying, you just like
Okay,
Team
what has
USA,
he done
he
to
doesn't do that.
improve Miles Turner?
What?
Miles Turner had his best season this year season. I
Best
know
team.
that could just have to do with that, but I think Halliburton had a very big role in that.
No. How many like screen alley hoop stuff have you seen? How many
It's just even the
duo
most
things have you
biased
seen?
take ever. It's just take down Halliburton at all costs to build up Garland. Like honestly, this isn't even like statistically backed up. Like you're just like, oh yeah, Halliburton over the like you're making Halliburton out to be James Harden like with the ball. Like that's just not who he is.
No. I'm saying he's better with his bigs than Halliburton is.
I think Garland's bigs are also better though. But
He
that's
has he has two bigs.
They're different. I would say they're different. I wouldn't say better, but they're better at the alley hoops.
Gary Allen is not
The
freaking
alley hoops are
better
more
than
than Miles
Miles
Turner gets
Turner.
alley hoop. But to your point
yeah.
earlier, Jaren Jackson Jr., Turner can't move like that. Mobley and Allen are guys. That's what they do. They get alley hoops. They dunk the ball, right? Turner doesn't move like that. So
Are
I
you
mean,
taking
referring to, sure.
are you taking
Um,
Miles Turner or Evan Mobley? I'm not gonna do another actually no. I'm not doing
We'll
that.
save it. We'll save it. We'll save it.
Okay.
I think we're just both at biased standpoints, and it's just hard to say which one's right. And there really isn't a
I
right
agree with you.
answer.
I still think it's ridiculous. Your take is that Halliburton can't adjust to the teammates.
And I think it's ridiculous to think Halliburton can, because he hasn't proven it.
But he has.
Blowing my mind. I don't even know how I can convince you. I don't know if you can look at his assists or his usage rate. Like
Well, and look at Team USA too. I mean, he's still playing great, and he has Edwards, Reeves,
and
McHale. I mean,
he looks great. He doesn't look at all like he doesn't look at all.
I'm pretty sure he's not actually doing even that good for Team USA.
If you look at him, that's exactly my point. Though he doesn't look uncomfortable or phased by the fact that he has to give a smaller role. He looks.
No, I actually watched a little bit of the Team USA. He was not very good.
Alrighty.
He was a little wild out there. He didn't have control.
That
Which for, I mean, for one, that you so now you're saying he for one doesn't have control of the game, and two that doesn't even speak to
Oh
what he's saying.
no,
But if
no,
your point
that's
is that
not
he
what I'm
didn't have
saying. I just
control,
said
another
during
crazy.
Team USA, he didn't have control.
Who do you guys think has the higher usage rate?
I was trying to look that. I'm actually really curious about what those
I have
numbers
the
are.
stats.
Guess,
right
guess,
now.
guess,
I
guess.
think
Maybe
based off
Garland.
last year, Halliburton has a higher usage rate just because Donovan Mitchell is in Cleveland.
No, I think
Actually,
it's
Darius
Garland
Garland. Yeah.
because
There you
he
go. But
takes
to
up
my
the
point,
ball.
that's exactly my point, though.
Halliburton
Even
takes up the ball
even
too.
even that's exactly my point. Look, this is my Mitchell. Even with Donovan Mitchell, who is not a playmaker by any means, this is certainly not a focus of the game. He is a score first guy. That's what he does. That's why they brought him in. Even with him there, as both playing point guards, Garland is still the higher usage rate guy than Halliburton. I'm not even knocking on Garland. I'm just saying it's ridiculous of you to say that Halliburton can't play with other people. That's just a ridiculous take in my mind. If you think Garland is better at that, that's fine. Like I said, I think they're almost the same.
So, in
But
your
I think
eyes,
that
do you view higher usage percentage as worse?
I don't think it's that worse. It just tells us about the game. It tells us Garland has the ball more in his hands. That's what it tells us. It tells us even as good as he is making passes, as good a playmaker he is, he likes to dribble. He likes to have the ball, right? We even, for example, I'm going to make it different. I don't even want to start a whole argument. I think we have different takes. But James Harden, for example, one of the highest usage rates of all time. Even go Russell Westbrook too. Let's put both of them in there. They both averaged like 10 assists for a season, right? We're talking about guys that almost have a triple double, things like that. But despite that, they still had extremely high usage rates, which means the ball is going through them either way. So even if they're averaging 10 assists, that's almost an inflated number because they have the ball in their hand the entire time. So if they pass it 50 times, 10 of those passes are likely to be assists, if that makes sense. And so we're seeing that Garland, even with a guy like Donovan Mitchell, still is touching the ball a high amount. Whereas Halliburton, I think everyone agrees here that Halliburton doesn't have anyone on this team that is even close to Donovan Mitchell, is still getting a lower usage rate on the team. And that is what I was saying. He's more of a floor general like compared to Trae Young. He's more able to just distribute the ball right away and play off the ball. As much as he plays with the ball and as much as he's capable of doing that, I just think he
Here,
certainly does not need to have the ball in his hands all the time.
here's something interesting. Tyrese Halliburton averages 2.5 turnovers. Darius Garland averages 2.9. Barely a difference, while Darius Garland has a higher usage rate.
And he has higher turnover, just barely a difference. I mean, so I'm saying they're extremely similar
And we'll
players.
see how big the usage rate is.
It's a 5% difference.
I mean, even if you're right on for the turnover, it still doesn't speak to your point of that Halliburton can't fit with teams. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like I don't understand. The eye test doesn't match at all, and the statistics don't match at all. So I'm kind of at a loss here, and like it doesn't make
It's just a
that's
biased
just a diss on
standpoint by
Halliburton
both of
because
us.
you love Garland. It's just a diss. That's all it is.
Well,
It's
it's
just
just
not.
a biased standpoint, like I said, for both of us.
So what?
A biased point from both of us.
I mean, that might be true, but I just think I just don't like you're trying to knock down Halliburton to save Garland. I just don't think you can say
And
Garland's
you're
better.
knocking down Garland to save
I'm not. That's what I'm
Halliburton.
saying though.
It's the same
I
way.
said they're almost the same. That's completely different. You said Halliburton can't play with other teammates. Like you said, he's literally
No,
usage. He's
not as good as Garland.
all right. If you say that, then I'm happy with that.
What
All
I
right. This seems like a good spot to end it. Clearly, it's all resolved. So,
Drop your opinions too in the comments. We want to see
sure.
what you think.
I expect
Whether
a
that's
ton of
extra
comments,
info, that
guys.
would
Team
be
Jimmy,
appreciated
baby.
as well.
Team Jimmy. We need support.
Yeah,
All right.
man. 11 more games, and Devin Booker still has 5 more points.
All right. See y'all.